So, ladies and gentlemen, we were talking in previous podcasts, and this is a breakdown of the Pittsburgh trade with Montreal for Larouche-Mahovlich. Again, we talked about Peter Lee going from Montreal, a top junior, drop it, going to Pittsburgh. But there's another player in that deal that came back to Montreal. Never played for Montreal, but a lot of people thought they were going to try maybe to sign him after the WHA situation got weaker. Now, this player is probably considered one of the most handsome players in sports history. And I'm not saying this facetiously. Women used to go crazy over this guy. And a good Nova Scotia guy from Halifax. His name is Peter Marsh. Now, Peter William Marsh, who was born December 21st, 1956 in Halifax, played 230 games in the WHA and 278 games in the NHL. He played for the Winnipeg Jets, Cincinnati Stingers, and Chicago Blackhawks. Now, his son Adam Marsh has kept tradition going because he played with the Charlottetown Islanders of the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. But let's look at this. Pittsburgh took a high draft pick, I think it was second round, try on Peter, because I think I mentioned in a previous podcast, the Q was known for a lot of players scoring a lot of goals and having marginal success in the NHL. Now, Peter excelled with the legendary Sherbrooke Castel of the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. His first season, he only had 16 points, but the second year he bloomed. He had 36 goals and 34 assists for 75 points in 65 games. 75-76, the year that Pittsburgh drafted him 29 overall, put up some really, really impressive numbers. A grand total of 175 points in the regular season and playoffs. 75 goals in the regular season, 156 points, 19 points in the Memorial Cup playoffs, or pre-playoffs, the Q League playoffs. So Montreal picked up his rights in the trade. I think it was late 1977. But he had jumped to the Cincinnati Stingers of the WHA. The Stingers, he played 3 years with them. 51 points in his first season. 50 points in his second, including 25 goals. And a big total for the Stingers in their last season in the WHA. 43 goals, 23 assists for 66 points. Now, it was every thought that Cincinnati was going to be allowed maybe into the NHL, but because of the merge, they were left out in the cold. So Winnipeg, Montreal didn't exercise their rights. He eventually ended up in Winnipeg, and his first season back in the NHL, he had 18 goals and 20 assists for 38 points. Second season, he split time Winnipeg and Chicago, ended up with the Chicago Blackhawks for several seasons. But his offensive talent faded away, and by the time the '84 season came along, he found himself in the minors with not actually the Brunswick Hawks, because he had Chicago moved their affiliate to Springfield, and he had 21 points in his final season. Now, a grand total of 230 WHA games, 167 points, including 91 goals in the regular season. NHL, 119 points, 48 goals in 278 games. So 500 games played in WHA, NHL combined. But when the Quebec media, when they found out they had the rights to Peter Marsh, a lot of them salivated, because especially with the Sherbrooke media, he really impressed a lot of people, being a maritime boy, being the fact that, a very handsome, talented man, good with the media. Like I said, Montreal was drafting every year. They had 17 key players, and every year they're literally drafting the best junior talent they had. The scouting system was excellent. But go into Internet Hockey Database and see all the draft picks that Montreal had in the 1970s, and how many players made the NHL. My God, he even drafted Alain Côté. Alain Côté was a tremendous NHL player. He would never give a chance with the Montreal Canadiens. You look at, I mentioned previous podcasts, you look at the players that were allowed to leave town, either directly or indirectly. In the 1960s, their biggest problem, they had too many goalies. In the 1970s, they didn't have too many goalies, they had too many forwards. They had only 16 spots in Montreal, And even the Voyageurs, they had players a hard time making the Voyageurs. They had to trade them. We're not even talking about Tony McKechnie's brother. That's another story altogether. If I can find something about Tony McKechnie's brother playing with the Voyageurs, I'll put it together. And people are saying Tony McKechnie had a brother. Yes, he did. Anyway, so thanks for listening, and all the fans of Peter Marsh and the Maritimes. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Again, my ex-wife once said is the most handsome man she's ever seen, and that was kind of a bummer because she wasn't talking about me. She was talking about Peter Marsh. Yeah, Peter Marsh. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the podcast. Have a good evening. Bye.